Acknowledge
Thanks for tuning in to your favorite content creator, UTV. To find out more, follow us on our social media platforms: YouTube UTV124, Facebook UTV124, Instagram UTV124, Twitch UTV124, TikTok UTV_124, and Flow TV channel 124. Remember, UTV, TV for you.
The opinions expressed on this TV program by the host, co-host, guest, and call-in listeners or chatters are solely the opinions and responsibility of the original source who expressed them. They do not necessarily represent the opinions of UTV or its affiliates.
Hello and welcome to all. Thank you for joining the Revolution. This is UTV, channel 124 on Flow, UTV 124 on Facebook, on Twitch, on Instagram, on YouTube, on TikTok. Yep, we're all over. And soon it'll be all over, at least in terms of elections. We hope if we can just get free and fair elections called. But in the meantime, it is Wednesday, the 16th of June, 2021, or the 10th day of the 6th year of the 5-year administration of Alan Shastney and his cabal. Happy birthday greetings going out to Peter Irvin Foster, Queen's Counsel, QC. Hoping you're having a great day. Greetings coming from all your home circle, family, daughters, you name it. Everybody's in league. Hoping you have a wonderful day today. Greetings also going out to my brethren, Sumerian as well, Buffy, Leslie Collymore, Mr. Basketball, yep, and of course Mr. Marketing as well. Hoping you have a wonderful day. Have a great day, my brother. I know all your friends, family, your sons here and abroad are checking for you. And of course, shout out to your wonderful mother as well. And last but not least, I want to send birthday greetings out to a one and only daughter, Merciana Starnell Mia Frederick. She turns 21, and also congratulations to her for completing her studies as a nurse, graduating top of her class with honors. This is coming from her mom, Rufina, her only brother, Quinn, her grandmother, who played a vital role in her upbringing, Miss Annie Frederick, and her only aunt Ira, and her stepfather Ray. We are also proud of her and wish her all God's blessings and guidance as she starts her career. She has made the entire Frederick and Louis family very proud. Now, folks, I'm calling for shout-outs from today because we're doing shout-outs tomorrow, God willing. Send your shout-outs to 758-519-1818. Doesn't matter whether you're here or abroad. You send your shout-outs in, and tomorrow, as we try to do every week, I'll take all of them, compile them, and do my best to try to do justice to all of them. Please make sure that you spell things how you want them to be pronounced in terms of nicknames. And of course, whatever the message is, whether it's a birthday, whether it's just a shout out or whatever, say where it's coming from, where it's going to, what part of the community, what part of the constituency, what part of the island, or what part of overseas, whether it's Canada, whether it's Dubai, whether it is Bexar, doesn't matter. I'll do the best that I can. So folks, one other announcement. I have been at pains to try to find a way to satisfy the initiative, or whatever you want to call it, of the t-shirts. So I've tried doing Gable Woods, and I've tried doing the north and south. I've done JQ, Grosley, I've done South Viewfort, I've gone by Nestor. I've gone around the island, but I realized while people are panning, they're not so much thinking about the t-shirts then, and then they call you back and say, hey, what happened to Dennery? What happened to Miku? What happened to Babono? What happened to Soufrière? So here's what we're going to do. I'll put up the number tomorrow. And what we're going to do is, like I said, the goal was not to make 1 million shirts. I don't have the resources for that. But it was really to send a message that we are not just ready, but we are telling you exactly how we feel. So I'm going to have a friend of mine go around the island on Friday from morning to night, all over the island. And anybody that wants the t-shirts, they're $30. All right? And we're going to try to do a district by district delivery island-wide. So Ancillary, Canneries, Soufrière, Babono, Dennery, Miku. Once I put up that number tomorrow, for the driver will be Dantes. They'll take your orders, and we'll try our best to fulfill as many as we can going around the island, one day only, and then we can just, I guess, start to focus in on the challenge at hand to get a free and fair election. In the meantime, I thought I should start off with a former chief engineer under Sir John, who has expressed his belief in Sir John in terms of as a visionary, whether you agree with him or not, and not so flattering of the Labour Party or Kenny Anthony, although I would beg to at least say there's some strategy in terms of the West Coast Highway and the Kenny Anthony, and also the location of the stadiums in the most northerly and southerly parts of the island, because those are the driest parts of the country. But nonetheless, the point is that Mr. John Peters makes a point that, first of all, we really should not have to choose between having the main roads done, the secondary roads done, or the tertiary roads in our neighborhoods done. They should all have been done. Why? Because not only does the consolidated fund provide for the Ministry of Infrastructure the funding to do roads, but on top of that, Shasta added a $1.50 gas tax onto the backs of everybody, including people who don't own vehicles, including people whose main use for gasoline is things like fishing. But still, we have no accounting for how many roads were done with that money, and how much money is collected and where that money has gone to. My information was that it has been used to offset the massive losses that came from the 2.5% reduction in VAT, but that's for another show. Now it's being used as a real genius election ploy, if it works, that people feel flattered that roads that haven't been done in outer communities, in out districts, whether it's Cap Estate, Babono, whether it is in Miku or in Dennery, it could be Lapwet, you get your concrete road, whatever it is being done that way. And the point of it is nice to see that you can go into some places like Labon and see at least on one side for one set of people that there's a road that's been done. Don't understand how the other people cannot feel like a decision was made to give one set of people a road and another set no. But beyond that, people are actually getting to the point where they are grateful to get a road in Cap Estate, when the truth is they've been paying their taxes. And even if not, you know the amount of money that all these ministers have stolen, the roads that they have done to lead to their Jabal house in Ancillary and Sarot and these places, right? And then you know the ones that they're doing for their own family and their friends. Then you hear police, high-level police officials getting the road to their home, or UWP top-level hacks getting their roads done. Then you get in this one, baby mama down in Boisjoli, getting that road just right down to her actual carport where she parks her car and her driveway was done, that kind of stuff. And we don't realize it should not have been a choice of either or. We are supposed to get all of these roads, because not only in like the former governments of Kenny Anthony, Stephenson King, John Compton, Vaughan Lewis and so on, used the consolidated fund and the Ministry of Infrastructure, but Shasta made a special priority of taxing us even more, $1.50 more excise tax for him to do even more roads. Yet the only one that they can point to, which still wasn't done with the gas tax, was the Shasta Drive with all the cracks that it still has, coming only 27 to 30 days after it was finished. So we're going to start today with again your reminder that John Peters sees something amiss.
I did transportation engineering as an option at university. So I have a fairly good idea about transportation engineering. And I will say to you, it makes no sense. It makes no engineering sense to create an intervention, a transportation intervention at those 2 points. It makes absolutely no sense because it will have very little impact, zero impact upon the issues that occur in the north of the island. If you drive, and those of us who go up to the north regularly, okay, I'll give you a little simple little issue. When SNS was closed, a little simple little issue, when SNS was closed and Computer World was closed, and you had very or minimal movement of traffic between those 2 points, going up on the afternoon and going up during the day to the north of the island was a breeze. Was a breeze. Same amount of people moving, right? But 2 intersections created a significant impact on a section of a road. And it says to you something, that the most critical link on the Grosley Highway at this point in time is the link between the Marisil Junction, the current junction, and the junction by Moshi, or if you want to take it up to the Rodney Bay Junction. Let's take it to Rodney Bay then. That is a critical link. And it's a critical link because when you consider the number of intersections coming onto the main road, I counted once, from 10 to current, you have 48 intersections, roughly 24 on either side. And therefore, every time somebody comes onto that road from one of those intersections, accentuated when you have commercial space, like an SNS, that you have a significant amount of movement in and out of there, you have an effect that is transferred right on the shock. And therefore, if you are thinking from a transportation perspective, one could never conclude that an intervention from that section by where the naval base towers are to the Bonte Gap could create something of significance in terms of reducing travel time, because at the end of the day, your success in a transportation intervention is the reduction in travel time. That's what you are aiming for. You want to reduce the travel time from point A to point B. That's the objective. And I would say to anybody living north, up in the north, when all of that is finished and you have 4 lanes or 4 little lanes, because you can't create 4 proper lanes there at all, when you have your 4 little lanes coming down, check on your own, take a watch and check the time now that you take from that point to Castries and the point thereafter. And you will realize that your saving in time is absolutely zero. And therefore, we would have spent $20 million in a transportation initiative with zero effect upon travel time. And that is your answer to how well that money is spent. However, I would also say that there is some good work going on in some of the road networks on the island. Whether it makes sense to focus on your tertiary road network at the sacrifice of your secondary road network, I would say to you, I don't agree with that. And a lot of the focus is on the tertiary network, right? Just outside. If you go there on the morning, you'll see it. I've seen some lanes paved in current that are in a better condition than the Grosley Highway, right? So you have to ask yourself, okay, if you're going into an intervention and I'm spending money on road development, what is the objective? Is the objective to keep 1 or 2 voters inside of a little enclave happy? Or is the objective to improve on your network? An improvement on your network will begin on your secondary and your primary network.
So a true improvement on the road network, according to former chief engineer under Sir John, would be to focus on your secondary network and to focus on your primary network. But I am happy too for all those who have gotten their roads, whether it's in Marisil, top of the world, or Corinth, or Plateau, Babono, or parts of Vijay, wherever it is, right? I'm happy for you. But you see, the fallacy is to believe that this has solved a problem for you with your vehicle. Because by doing these tertiary roads that were beaten up on your vehicle, indeed, when you leave those tertiary roads to make use of the main roads, you now have the problem being put on the main roads. So when you drive in certain parts of the country, no, almost all parts of the main road in the country, you can see the deterioration. And I present to you again the Apache Highway. Why? Because there's more patches on the road than there is paved highway.
You side, what we tell them? Hey girl, my girl, my girl, listen, listen, listen. Hey girl, what's your name? Since the time I'm watching you, I want to wine on you, my girl. Don't mind me, I'm okay. I'm not taking cocaine. Just send it up and drop it down. Send it up and drop it down. And send it up and drop. Let go now, flat down. Patate, 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 flat down. Patate. Send the bumper in the sky. Make it fly like butterfly. Press like quasi bagay. Quasi fly like quasi kai. Make that shake like earthquake. Shake it up and twerk it. Now baby work it. You sweet like chocolate. Flat down. Patate. 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 Go down behind the daft. Tick and tack. Go down flat. Jump a gal behind the daft. There we go now. Tick tack. There we go now. Rep that. There we go now. Hold it now. Hold it now. There we go now. Flat down. Patate. 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 Oh, that's simple.
Now the psychology, I get it, the psychology of the roads in Roblo, going Park Estate. Never mind the roads are being done on credit for Nationwide to bring in Cuban workers. Or Fresh Start, right, on credit, whether it is in Lakai, whether it is in Plateau, Babono, everywhere that they're getting the new roads, Bel Air, it opens up your mind. You start to see possibilities. It's a great psychological tool, and it's the #1 thing that people ask for as fealty, or to keep fealty to the party, to the government, or whatever. So I understand that completely. All I'm pointing out to you is that at the end of it all, you're still going to have to pay the price with your vehicle, because this has been done not only on credit, which is at the expense of the next term, the next 5 years, it's also been done on direct award, which means that they are guaranteeing their profits. It's also being done for political expediency, which is compromising the quality of the works when you really stop and study them. And we'll get to that in a while. But what's even worse is that in all of what's happening, it's not just the neglect of those roads. Then you have, like, for example, Wasco will come in. And I've said it before, I've shown it before, when they did inside of Lafay, Moshi there. You know, they dig up a road, then they put a little bit of gravel, and then they cover it up, and that's supposed to be appease everybody, and then it turns into a speed bump. You had people like, what's his name, Monster, have an accident on a motorcycle going to Pigeon Island, and he broke his ankle and broke his leg as well because of the well, not really very prominently viewable roadworks that are there for Wasco. And then now you realize that it creates another traffic problem. It's almost like putting a speed bump on the main road in a place that people are not accustomed to. And then you ask yourself, seriously speaking, because you get a road paved in Cap Estate that you're already paying $1.50 extra each time you go and put gas in, your consolidated fund money, the money that you have been paying in taxes and consumption tax like VAT and all these other taxes, you now have to be grateful for getting a road that you deserved. Anywhere within the last 4 to 5 years, you deserve those roads. People like Spider went and took CDP money and did roads concrete to his own land that I've shown you 5 times, 50 times, 100 times. And then now in the last, the 12th hour, they are rushing to do roads, just like they rushing to pave in the CDC parking lots there now. Another fresh start job. I'll show you that tomorrow. But I just want us to think that basically somebody is literally telling you, boy, you're so stupid. I can pave the road by your home and neglect the main roads, and y'all will be veglaid by that.
Now I'm around and I'm heaven bound. Now I see something they never found, and I'm in the clouds. Them just are proud. There was a time I was low and not high. Things are not perfect, but I can smile. I know they looking and wondering why. I see the world from an eagle eye. Never upon the ground. Boy, boy, me say, never upon the ground. And I say, them can't stop my flight. Close to the sun can't stop my shine. You know, see me fly so high above the clouds, noticing on me eye. Thank Jah for the eagle 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 eye. Remember the creator as a young person. Strength is renewed, just like the eagle. Pluck out my feathers and break off my beak, so I get new wings and get a new beak. And I fly higher and eat new things with my new beak. And my enemies, them afraid of me cause I lethal and thing. Only because I did a hard thing. Only because
Available at Red Dot in Grozile and Susie's Varieties in Bois de Wange and Vieux-Fort.
Then you find the Fisher Fox balance. Patient Eddie Mercury say Buddha. And then you wonder Pucci Mercury superior, lasts longer and even faster. Mercury C Pro 75, 90 115, 150, et 200 horsepower. Leave a warranty on the market and the price is right for your pocket. At Chalma, they will make me use my vocabulary. Mercury's performance, durability, fuel efficiency, and patient Mercury give plibo puyo. Machine Mercury says C-Pro. Machine Mercury coming on clean way, please it. Let me show them on your Machine Mercury travail bali. Muevle ou koute saidi.
Avant moun te gade Mercury se bonda, a Chalma Mercury ki met bonda.
Maman, machine sa ou sa bay gaz, me ou pa ka pile gaz. Mercury Sea Truck a distributed par Island Marine Supplies Rodney Bay Marina. Pour plus d'informations, vous 460 9879.
Is Caribbean vibe.
I hearing pan, pan, pan in me head. I hearing pan, pan, pan in me bed. It's something like Charlo from up Desperado. I hearing pan, pan, pan all the time. I hearing pan, pan, blowing my mind. It's got to be Charlo from up Desperado. Atangalingalinga, 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 atangalingalinga. I hear the chariots and then the be Charlo from up Desperado. I feel the ground tickle me brain. I got a real feeling again. It's got to be Charlo from up Desperado. Atanga-linga-linga, 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 atanga-linga-linga. I hear the chariot, and then the guitar, and then the tenor, ding ding liggy liggy ling ding, liggy 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 ling ding. Then all together, sweet like sugar, fun forever. Ling ding ling a ling a ling a ling a ling a. Memory, it's only a memory of a steel band man leading his band.
So to me, this makes perfect sense. What they think is just purely protest is a release of energy, positive energy, something joyous, something celebratory, because we can see the finish line and the day will soon be at hand where our voices will be heard. But in the meantime, you can hear it. Ring the bell, call it. And if you don't want to call it, we're letting you know that there are people that are hungry. And if you don't want to hear that there are people that are hungry, we are letting you know that we hear each other. Exhilarating. But then you turn around and you look and you see the UWP's tenor. Here you have people who are panning, have suffered. They have been angry, they have been frustrated, they have been depressed, they have had all kinds of psychosis, anxiety, depression, and they've made it through that. And this in a way is a celebration of that. And yet the people who have been getting the contracts, who have been getting the direct awards, they want to make it angry to the point that they are angry and incensed because they have become accustomed to us suffering in silence, even though they were the ones that made us silent by stifling our civil rights. And yet we still adhere to the protocols. When you beat a pan at your home, you still adhere to the protocols. When you beat it out on your balcony, when you do not go and have a mass crowd event and you beat in your pan, you are still well within your rights, even with the COVID-19 protocols. And yet, instead of meeting that with saying, hey, wow, okay, instead, they want to be incensed to the point now where their operatives want to try and turn it into violence and to pretend, or maybe they are indeed offended that people all over the world are beating their pans, right? Whether they are part of the diaspora or whether they are here, young and not so young, are doing it. And they're doing it, and they're filming it, and they send it out so that message is getting out there. So I want to present somebody who calls himself a comedian. That is Noah Sees, a UWP operative, because the show that they have, the segment, is sponsored by the Prime Minister's wife and Ms. Girodi, that is the President of the Senate. They pay for the show, right? He's done his comedy online. And I mean, I have a sardonic sense of humor, and the things that I find funny that others find in poor taste. I've been guilty of that before, both with Lucians and in my general life. So I'll leave it to you to tell me if you think it's funny when we are trying to preach anti-violence, when we're trying to preach tolerance going into election. Here is a UWP operative that getting it good, getting all the money, right, gets to go and do everything, you know, gets his vehicles to go out on rental, and nobody's supposed to know except that I have the screenshots of the vehicle number and everything, and sends his vehicles out on rentals, even while other people's vehicles cannot go out on rentals at Sugar Beach and so on. But nonetheless, see for yourself and tell me how you feel.
Ring the bell. Ne pas dire quoi tellement. Ne pas dire quoi tellement. Dis quoi. Ring the bell. Dis quoi. Ring the bell. Dis quoi. Ring the bell. Ring the bell. Ouais, on a vu quoi m'a fait de ça, on a vu quoi m'a fait faire des ordres dans l'élection. On a fait des ordres, on a vu faire moi des ordres. Garçon, où ça n'a dit c'est mon là qui a quoi prendre bokay moi là? I swear it's the people that knocking pan by my home creating a ruckus.
No, just a little work, just a little fine who got fella boss. And probably by this, not by politics. But tout by here by politics, boss. And probably salap man. And we didn't come and just make noise by your uselessly, senselessly, bossy. Sorry about that, brother. Okay. Boss, I'm a cut off five black. Panama, that's a Panama frightened pull up him. My partner been scared for his life already. Who's that man mean, professor? I didn't mean to do that, you know. One time we uncomfortable at work. Now, boss, head off, me alone. I alone have 6 child mother and 7 children. Perfect. You know what I'm telling you? So, how? Come on in a pay you. Come on in a soin say more, boss. And I'm uncomfortable. I'm have to quit it. Who's that for me feel bad now? For me feel hurt. Mama, I'm not feeling safe, boss. My safety done compromised already. I'm not feeling safe. My partner not even safe. My partner. Come on in a fair gamble. Boss. My quarter vibe, man. I'm very sorry for causing misappropriation and harming the workplace, uncomfortability. Okay? Alright. Sorry about that. I love you now. You can even point to boss and not to on the down. You can even point to boss. If you hear me, when you finish, you come and take a drink inside. Alright, alright, that one's complex, I'll fair boss. Yo, just now, we go on the work just now. We go and drink, just now. Yeah, I'm okay with that. Boss, I'm not going to tell you, take my hand, man. Wait.
Ha. Okay. So, pan countered with cutlass equals funny. All right. In the meantime, a more revealing song, a very, very revealing song about the mentality that the United Workers' Party has propagated, what they have promulgated, what they have promoted, what they've marketed, what they've normalized. I want you to listen to the lyrics very carefully.
I can't live what I see for what I see. Hospital fix, we can't get tetanus. Me say put it where it is, the boss, real check on us. Herod, Gassadam and vibe admiring. First politician, I mean that not lying. I go like my whole family's flubbo. But you see me, doggy, I have no sight. But the development I seen with both eyes, Herod did well, the man did provide. I can't understand why I want him to move there. Herod is the best thing to happen to Sufred. Points are poor salary, cause Herod is a man that carry Sufred to the top. He did it from the start and he's not about to stop. The man is man checking for the youth in the ghetto, giving every club a contract so they cannot run talk. Now listen to the reason why I'll never vote Labour. Lies, the man will tell in my ears again. Herod is the man, we excited again. Now let me give him on the next 5 years again. Hey, stop. He did it from the start and he's not about to stop. The man is man checking for the youth in the ghetto, giving every club a contract so they cannot run talk. Now listen to the reason why I'll never vote Labour. Lies, the man will tell in my ears again. Herod is the man, we excited again. Now let me give him on the next 5 years again. Ras put me on and dog when I well check. Really that is true. The hard work Labour couldn't do in 10 years. Herod come down, do it in 2. You take the project, you the Herod following. All parfait. So as Herod fails, we more of a vein. Contract man, we excited again. Now let me give him on the next 5 years again. Hey, 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 hey. 5 years again. Herod Stanislas, big up. Donatan.
So you see what's being normalized there? You probably may not have caught it. Here is a young guy who's telling you that his whole family is UWP. Now, I can laugh at the part where he says Herod is the first politician that he's been around that doesn't lie. But let's deal with this, folks. When he's singing as a good thing, as a virtue, it's kind of like Guy Joseph saying openly that he falsified state documents on Timothy Polio's show. It's normal, it's a good thing to him that he falsified state documents. And listen to what is being boasted as a reason to vote for Herod, that he gives contracts to everyone. So we have reached a point, and remember this started under the Stevenson King administration, the T-Canal thing. And CDP, which is Constituency Development Project, started off with the nicest thing. You involve all the different people from the community, but now there is a metric, It's how many contracts. That is how politics is determined now. How many contracts you give to this one. If you give this one 6 and you give that one only 2, and you give, remember when Fede was there bribing Sire, telling Sire, well, you know, I'll give you some contracts to make up to the $25,000 that was the name of the other lady got, and all the rest of that. Folks, how can you run a country with proper governmental organizations if at the same time you have to be bilking out of it so that you can give contracts to everyone? And that makes you a good district representative, giving contracts to everyone. So what he's telling you is to continue to be beholden to somebody who in their own deliberate judgment will discriminate and give you or not give you a contract, give you an amount of a contract, or not give you an amount of a contract of your own taxpayers' money. That's the part that is amazing. Somebody's taking your money from you, stealing money out of it, making sure to take care of their family, making sure to acquire lands for themselves, making sure that they can start construction company, making sure that their parents are getting all of the fares from the taxi drivers, making sure that they have the whole thing like is a mob vibe when you reach down in Soufrière. Acquiring lands everywhere, doing whatever you want, and then can turn around and you have to be grateful and vote for them again because you get a contract. And the contract is with your money. Now, you turn around and you say, well, and you go there and like the fellas that stopped me anytime because how can you say Herod has not done for Soufrière? But Herod, listen to this, folks. Herod did the beach park, but he never took care of the grey water. So the E. coli down there in that corner of the beach is off the chains. But they will not complain because they see physical infrastructure. Because Compton, and that's something my father always said, that he always called Sir John a concrete prime minister. Building physical edifices, Sean, his son, would say he built the foundational structures. No problem, that debate can be had. Building the foundational infrastructures, but my father said he never developed the people. Because the UWP is a conservative party, the Labour Party is socialist. So they are the ones that had the interventions with Cuba and the training program and all the rest of those socialist policies like bursary for the disabled, helping people get land through the Proud program and all of these things. But no worries. Here you have Herod, who in true UWP style considers all development only the development of physical infrastructure. And even in that has done it in an irresponsible manner. You have a steep incline for the Soufrière lands when the water comes down the river and routinely bursts its banks. When it busted its banks the last time, it washed away the Soufrière Square. Inter-Island Architects, Mark Hennicott and Company, with the architect, Ms. Girao, raised the Soufrière Square 9 feet to deal with, if it happened again, anything over category 1 tropical storm, not hurricane, would make the river burst its banks and yes, wash out the Soufrière Square. What did Herod do? Fire Inter-Island Architects, add $1 million to the bill, take 1 year more to the day to do the exact same project because he kept the same architect, Ms. Girao, and then lowered it down to where it is now, completely vulnerable. But the average person who will pass will say, hey, Herod do the square. Even if Dalson them did all of the real work for it. And they took out a lot of the features like silent, dog whistle type things to chase away animals and rodents. Fountains that were going to be able to play in synchronicity with music and all the rest of that. Just so that they could pardon an extra $1 million that Herod could put in some of his people to get contracts so that they could get money. You see how that works? So you give the people the same thing in a worse condition, more vulnerable, a year later and with $1 million added on, but somebody else get contracts. See how that works? Now, they tell you about Old Trafford, but Old Trafford, when Herod came in, he had a whole other set of plans. And when his plans could not get funding, he then had to go with the plans for Old Trafford that were even designed by people like Neville Skeet, who doesn't get credit for that. But that's okay, because Old Trafford is part of a drainage project first. But you see, Herod did not do the drainage project, which right now you can contact Inter-Island Architects and they will tell you that anything over a category 2 tropical storm, not hurricane, tropical storm, will knock down what is there now. Why? Because the flood mitigation project and the drainage project and the speed of the water coming down from Soufrière, which happened the last time on November 28th, when the Labour Party won the election in 2011. And that very night, there were major landslides in Soufrière. The Labour Party built 9 bridges in Soufrière, and still Old Trafford, as a CDB project, was supposed to be done. Now, what's even worse is that Herod's reorientation of the much vaunted craft market and bus stand and taxi stand is actually, he changed it around himself as a former taxi driver and put it ass backwards. What was supposed to happen was the vendors were supposed to be on the front end, because the vendors traditionally had lined the streets, and Dalson them wanted to, while moving them off the streets, also wanted to give them first access to patrons. So what you're supposed to do is, when you're going to take the bus, pass through all the vendors. So when you see somebody has tomatoes, somebody has dashi and green fig, whatever it is, different produce, you would go through the vendors just like you go through a mall before you supposed to go through a mall before you get to the supermarket, which is what has killed JQ upstairs and what plagues Baywalk downstairs. The supermarket is hidden, and the other one, you can spend your whole year going to JQ supermarket without having to go through a mall. When you go through a mall in the States and so on, you will see that there will be shops targeted towards mothers, towards children. Child sees a toy, father sees something, whatever, sporting goods or whatever, and by the time they get there, the impulse buyers are there. But you would go through that market with all the vendors at the Soufrière market, and by the time you get to the bus terminal and so on, then the vendors would have gotten the benefits. Instead, you have the taxis and the buses in the front, and they put the vendors at the back. So the vendors now are not getting the business. That's why you see a lot of them taking fish and so on and going around trying to sell. And the other problem is, because of Herod's misorientation, it has killed the town lower down of Soufrière. But they don't want to hear that. All they tell you, you cannot say Herod has not done for Soufrière. Look at the projects. Look at the projects. And the same thing, if you tell them, who's the contractor? Who is the son? Who is the father? How is the construction company? Where's Fresh Start? Are we doing things on credit? Nobody don't want to hear that. And the truth is, if he remains victorious and he wins again, he will have proven that it's all about fooling people instead of doing the projects right. Just do things that people can see and give them temporary fixes. So let's look at another one I showed you from May. And first, let me show you again that if you are going to be putting in a road, one of the main components is BRC. Let's show that photo. So the BRC is supposed to go in so that in the event that the road starts to break up over time, that there's some measure of protection in stopping that. So the average road, whether poured in concrete or tar, is normally poured at least 5 inches thick, and it has BRC. As of May, you've seen roadworks, again, roads done on credit to vaguely the people, and it'll probably work to an extent. So let's go with that, and let's say, tell me where you see the BRC in any of this. So did you see BRC? Do you see it anywhere? Isn't that fundamental to having a good road? We do not know the pounds per square inch in terms of how the cement has been mixed. So we do not know the consistency of it, but we'll show you some inconsistencies shortly. Now, the fact of the matter is, to the victor goes the spoil. So in the same way that the Soufrière Square will go down in Herod's name, even though Dalso presented the plans on Zafar Nu, and I had them as well on Politically Incorrect, even with regards to Old Trafford and the Inter-Island Architects plans and all the rest of that, and even though you show the video, the fact of the matter is that most of the hacks, the UWP hacks, are not going to believe that. Now, they can have shows like Champagne and them and the Beaufest man where proof is optional. Right? But here you are now, and you can look, folks, the DCA had a grey water report. Note well, I'm giving the term grey water, and it's there for all. But then again, the UWP has politicized the DCA now with Clem Bob, so they give approval for Teoa King to build a structure and said it was not it's only a temporary structure, so it didn't need planning approval, and yet we've seen what has been built in terms of DSH. That's how they work. The fact of the matter is that the Trubetskoys even had this beach where the beach park is. They've had it tested. So anybody, any UWP hack that wants to, they can actually go and ask them for the testing results to find out about the E. coli and the toxicity of the area. And when it comes to Old Trafford, the old plans are there, the original plans are all there inside of the Soufrière Foundation. But you see, they don't want facts, because if facts matter to them, they could never be supporting Shastney. They could be UWP, but like I said, UWP died with Compton. Shastney and Guy and them just took the brand. But let's go to new development, Soufrière Road. Let's just take a look at that. So let's put up a couple of the photos. Now, folks, that might not look like much, but these are the inconsistencies that come with poor workmanship. Let's go to the next one. You see, this is a road that literally was finished a couple of weeks ago, and some parts of it are still being worked on. You can see it for yourself. These are the inconsistencies with the concrete mixing. Right? The ministry is supposed to get a sample of all of these things to be tested. I do not know whether that's happening because of the amount of direct awards that are going through, not Stephenson King's ministry. There you have that already breaking up, already the surface. Let's go to the next one. See it again. Let's go to the next one. See it again. Let's go to the next one. These are not the same parts of the road all the time. Here you have poor workmanship showing again. Right? But it's about contracts, because that's what make you vote for them. There you go. There you go. That's new development, Soufrière. But folks, you don't have to be a Labour Party supporter, UWP supporter, an engineer or engine far to know that a road is only as good as its drainage. So when you look at a place like the Diamond Force-Jacques Road, we won't even get into Herod acquiring 14 acres of land, and Nigel that died, that Shastney and them were dancing on the grave and trying to get the land from them, and all of that type of stuff that's going on there. And using the Ministry of Planning for him to acquire lands. And no, we're not going into skyline construction. We're not going into any of these family bauble things. What we're going to stick to is simple. That if you have a road being built by Fresh Start on credit, that we're going to have to be paying for after elections no matter what, that if you're going to do that, you have to, even if you already don't have BRC, even if you're not having the concrete tested properly, you have to at least ensure that there are drains in a place where it rains so much. Remember, Force-Jacques is the bread basket, not the Père Pignard of Shastney, the bread basket of St. Lucia. And that means that there are more rains there. And you have laid down the roads, you haven't put in drains, because the budget is about drains. Fresh Start is about drains. Fresh Start is about give them a contract. Even though a lot of the people from the immediate area did not get in terms of Diamond and in terms of Force-Jacques. But Herod has his people from the town any which way. Right? So, and the rest is Fresh Start people that come from Guy Joseph's constituency almost exclusively. But that's not the point. The point is that the road is there. And already in the construction of the road, you see no provision for drains. So what's going to happen? Water runs, washes it out. The lack of BRC, it'll break off in chunks in a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. And then, by then, the next administration will have to go like what they had to do when it was Stephenson King and Guy Joseph was the Minister for Infrastructure. You go up Monday door, you just seeing road pieces coming up and you seen pieces of BRC jutting up out of the ground. And then you have to do all the remedial works. And the remedial works are not sexy, they're not glug projects that has make people say, one thing you cannot say Herod have not done. You see, this government puts the flashy things first without the actual practical things to sustain them in place before they do that. So I'll just present you with Diamond Fosse-Jacques, and you will look at what the Soufrierian resident took in terms of the footage, whether you're an engineer or an engine far, and you'll tell me if you do not see the susceptibility already with regard to lack of drainage and with regard to what's going to happen to that road. Oh no, what's already happening to that road.
Souffert boudier, moi douce gloise, moi oui mani moi. Error diffère, moi souffert gloise, moi oui mani moi. Chasse diffère, moi souffert gloise, moi oui mani moi. Error diffère, moi souffert gloise, moi oui mani moi. Chasse dit, moi douce baillero de coup de soulier. Baille chasse musique coup de pied. Sorti pour les bas, toi que ce flabo, hot passe à ouété sur gloise, moi oui mani moi. Error diffère, moi souffert gloise, moi oui mani moi. Chasse diffère, moi tout péché dit yo las boudier, yo pas qu'à lever. Yo pas des cas iPhone cause votre dédor ou les gars so gloise moi oui money moi. Error diffère moi souffert gloise moi oui money moi. Chasse diffère moi souffert gloise moi oui money moi. Error diffère moi souffert gloise moi oui money moi. Chasse diffère moi douce baillero de coup de soulier. Fait chasse musique coupée. Sorti pour les bas après chasse ni combien pour des reflages c'est pour ça là toujours diable ici blé pour cette lycée nous. Cette lycée hot couillon hot ouais manière bagaille manière bagaille bade vote baile bas s'ouvre changer on t'a coûté gloise moi oui money moi. Error diffère moi souffert gloise moi oui money moi. Chasse diffère moi souffert gloise moi oui money moi. Error diffère moi souffert gloise moi oui money moi. Yes boy gloise moi oui money moi. Error diffère moi souffert gloise moi oui money moi. Chasse diffère moi souffert gloise moi oui money moi. Error diffère moi souffert gloise moi oui money moi. Chasse dit boudier error pas fait rien boudier gaz ou fouiller souffert just pour this way je know il connaît nous pas vieux quoi so gloise moi oui money moi.
Protocols for international visitors while in St. Lucia. The following protocols are established to guide the stay of all guests while on island in order to mitigate any possible spread of infection. During the first 14 days, visitors are allowed to patronize approved beaches, restaurant, sea and land excursions, and sites and attractions. All visits are scheduled and pre-arranged by their respective accommodation providers. During this period, all visitors will be transported to and from the certified sites using only COVID-19 certified tourism transportation. After the first 14 days, if any visitor wishes to stay on island beyond the 14-day period, they must apply for and receive a health clearance certificate from the Ministry of Health. Visitors will be allowed to travel, be out in the wider public and patronize local businesses unsupervised once health clearance certificates have been received. During their entire stay, visitors must wear their mask whenever they are in public places and maintain the mandatory 6 feet distancing from others.
We're taking our life back. Get vaccinated.
Now that there is a vaccine, I am very optimistic that we can return to a sense of normalcy very soon. And that means having that first fete, that first concert, that first party. Encourage your friends to get vaccinated so that the sooner we get to this herd immunity, the sooner we can be out there again. The chance to see our local and international artists on a stage performing again to a very captive audience. People enjoying themselves, people relaxing, people letting go. This, for me, is what I would really like to see. So, go out, get vaccinated, let's make it a reality.
Get vaccinated.
This message is brought to you by the Bureau of Health Education of the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
New video of that narrow escape in Mark Bexor has emerged, giving new insight on the unfolding events that sent several Labour Party supporters scampering to safety on a day now known as Pan Sunday. One Bexor resident who says she was among the crowd of supporters recounted the near-fatal ordeal on NBC's Zafenu talk show on June 8th.
The man in the flat van, he stayed about a distance away from us. So, in my mind, I was thinking it was going to be the normal UWP thing. When they see the Labours, they come and they join. They want to debate or they want to quarrel. I thought that's what we were going to get.
The situation dramatically escalated. The driver of a grey pickup van, registration number TB4890, and adorning the political colors of the United Workers' Party, appeared to speed up, approaching a group of people wearing opposition colors on a street in Mark. A potential capital offense was narrowly averted when the roadside protesters scurried out of the driver's way. The driver of that grey pickup van, giving his version of events to the Zafenu hosts, accused the opposition protesters of vandalism and damaging Flubbo flagpoles. His account has been refuted by one of the near-miss victims. They accuse him of attempted murder.
We just heard like an engine revving after he reversed. And when I looked, I just saw the man coming towards us full force. This thing about breaking a flag had never happened. At what point in time people were running for their lives?
Cell phone video also captured another motor vehicle, a truck with a Guy Joseph poster plastered on the back, driving through the crowd without incident. Seconds later, the pickup with passengers in the cab careened through the crowd.
The man literally tried to kill us with his vehicle.
Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to add to say? Is there anything else you'd like to say?
To be honest, I want to call out the rep, Guy Joseph, to say something, because at the end of the day, yes, we did not support you in the last election, but you are the rep of our constituency, and one of your operatives tried to kill us with his vehicle. We need you to say something.
Police say video evidence in this incident is still not enough to pursue a criminal investigation. They need witnesses to come forward with information or make a formal complaint, which as of June 8th has not happened. The Labour Party has condemned the incident. Conversely, there has been no word from the UWP or the Castries South East MP on the almost deadly near-miss incident.
No word from the Castries South MP. his campaign vehicle, one of them, somebody that undoubtedly is part of his campaign operation, the person says that they call Yardie show, so it's not like you cannot find out who the person is if the guy is openly called the show before the lady called, in terms of Zafenu on NBC. You have the vehicle number, plus you have the video of that, and you have seen the trend. You have not seen countering evidence. Maybe there is, maybe it will come out, but you have not seen countering evidence of Labour Party supporters flying through crowds with vehicles being used as projectiles. No, you have not, right? But at the same time, you have it here. So what do you expect? You would expect for Guy Jones, no, you know the tactic. For those who watch soccer, you ever realize whenever there's somebody that they get into a fight or whatever, a sport where you see like basketball, you see somebody get a flagrant and they throw them, eject them out of the game, or the referee comes in, raise a card. All of that, most times, especially if they don't use video replay, it's not the one that hits, it's the one that hits back. And when you hit back, that's when you get in the licks. Now, when it happens with a Labour Party supporter doing something, you'll see Champas, you'll see the Beaufest man, you'll see Erad Maris, you'll see Jukwa, you'll see Timothy Polio, Rick Wayne, all of them say, look at the violence, look at it, look at what they've done, where is it? They'll have all the righteous indignation, just like they did not have with what happened to Trisha, not once, but twice. Nothing they had to say about that. People like Dominic Fede would not even look at the footage when the press gaggle went to him outside the House of Assembly. Nothing for that. But now they will talk about violence. Now here I've shown you a pattern. In one day, 4 incidents. And now another one at Oliode again. And yet Guy Jones's vehicle identified, his campaign vehicle identified. But listen to this.
Politicians on both sides have issued warnings about the increasingly tense environment surrounding elections. SLP leader Philip J. Pierre has cautioned party supporters not to allow themselves to be provoked, and now Castries Southeast MP Guy Joseph is cautioning the St. Lucia Labour Party's leader to get supporters to tone it down after an incident where he says SLP supporters attempted to block off the road along his way home.
I think Philip J. Pierre, the so-called leader of the Labour Party, although he doesn't have the gonads to be able to say anything that is correct, but I'm still appealing to him because he's the named leader of the party, to advise his people to conduct themselves better than they are.
Castries Southeast MP Guy Joseph says the temperature gauge is surely moving up as campaigning heats up on island. But he has expressed concern about the tone and style of the Labour Party's campaign. He says the SLP and its supporters are becoming increasingly confrontational and combative. He has called on political leader Philip J. Pierre to temper his own comments and dissuade the party's supporters from continuing or intensifying their current mode of campaigning.
I want to put the Labour Party on notice and tell them that intimidation tactics they want to use will not work. And I think Flabos are ready. Oh yeah. Flabos are more than ready. And if you want to have a campaign and respect everybody. Do not try to block people when they on the road or when people are about their private business, that their vehicle is being knocked, people doing things. If they have flags on their vehicle, people want to pull down their flags. Labour Party don't want to go down that road. If they go down that road, it will not be good for anybody in St. Lucia.
He recounted an incident that occurred on his way home, one he believes was meant to intimidate him.
Now imagine, I'm in Tuapiton. I'm driving up to my home in Forest.
10 minutes away.
Yes. I've now been told to turn and go around because Labour Party people are on the road misbehaving. Now I know in campaign and in this and in that, you know, people get excited and faint. I said to them, no, I'm not turning and I'm not going back. And that's the road to my home, and I'm going to my home. And to be fair with you, I drove and I passed. There were people with their flags waving, a small crowd of persons. Nobody interfered with me.
SLP leader Philip J. Pierre has been cautioning supporters of the Labour Party to remain peaceful, as he believes that the UWP is seeking to provoke SLP supporters as a means of sparking violence, a move that he says will give the government the excuse it wants to delay the general election.
Do not get excited. I just want you to vote. They will provoke you. They'll provoke you. Because what they want to do is they want to paint us in a kind of way so they can say the Labour Party violent.
Both parties say the goal is to have a peaceful general election that will in no way be marred by violence.
You see, I look like a violent fellow. All my life, I have never been involved in, I've not ever in my life get a traffic ticket. I went to court once to be a witness in Tuxedo Villas. I have never caught myself involved in any infractions of the law. I look like a violent guy. Is somebody tell you you're going to look for a violent politician? You look for Philip J. Pierre? In fact, some people think I'm too docile. Some people think I'm too soft. But you know, I'm smarter than them. What they want me to do is to try to create an atmosphere for them to say Labour Party violence and no elections. No, we're not doing that. You don't know where we're beating them? In the ballot box.
Now, after listening to this report last night, my question is, don't you think that Guy Joseph should have had some mention or focus on the actions that he has taken for already demonstrated road rage by one of his drivers of his campaign vehicles? Not only does he not do that, but I'm letting you hear it again. In full disclosure, he is literally saying that the Labour Party, he lives in Forestier, but 10 minutes away, they try to block the road because one of his supporters or UWP supporters told him they were trying to block the road. Yet, when he went, as the person that they were trying to block, he got none of that treatment. But yet, he still put in the Labour Party on notice and on warning. Why not talk about the rabble-rousers that came and told you that this was for you? And if you're saying, because you know the distance between Tuapito and Forestier, 10 minutes distance. Folks, 10 minutes, in 10 minutes, I can get from Cap Estate to Marisil. In 10 minutes, I can get from Castries down to Marigot. In 10 minutes, and you tell me that was deliberate because Guy Joseph is so in his own ego. I mean, come on. But you know what? Listen to it for yourself and hear the inherent contradiction. And then turn around and try to make out like it is Labour Party, even though you are saying the antithesis when you are being fair.
Can you believe that yesterday the Labour Party was blocking the road in certain places in the constituency? I was coming up from Bexon. I would think it was about a little after 8 o'clock. To get home before curfew, even if I have a pass. And when I got to Tuapito, another couple vehicles were coming down and they stopped and they told me they were blocked on the road, and the advice to me is do not drive up there. After 8 in the night, I'm going to my home, you know. Do not drive up there. The advice they would give me is to turn and go back through there. For now, imagine I'm in Tuapito. I'm driving up to my home in Forest.
10 minutes away.
Yes. I've now been told to turn and go around because Labour Party people are on the road misbehaving. Now, I know in campaign and in this and in that, you know, people get excited and faint. I said to them, no, I'm not turning and I'm not going back. And that's the road to my home, and I'm going to my home. And to be fair with you, I drove and I passed. There were people with their flags waving, a small crowd of persons. Nobody interfered with me. Nobody told me anything. Nobody tried to stop my vehicle, because my vehicle had a big yellow flag and my vehicle is a well-known vehicle in the area. I want to put the Labour Party on notice and tell them that intimidation tactics they want to use will not work. And I think Flabos are ready. Flabos are more than ready. And if you want to have a campaign and respect everybody. Do not try to block people when they on the road, or when people are about their private business, that their vehicle is being knocked, people doing things. If they have flags on their vehicle, people want to pull down their flags. Labour Party don't want to go down that road. If they go down that road, it will not be good for anybody in St. Lucia. So I think Philip J.P., the so-called leader of the Labour Party, although he doesn't have the gonads to be able to say anything that is correct, but I'm still appealing to him because he's the named leader of the party, to advise his people to conduct themselves better than they are.
You heard this for yourself, huh? Once you get the full context. First of all, Guy Joseph himself is being confrontational by saying that he's going to go and look for confrontation because that's the road or that's the way to his home, even though he himself is also admitting that there are alternate ways to get to his home. He is basing as factual the statements made by a supporter that is claiming something that he has no proof of. He goes as the #1 person that he believes is being targeted is him. And he gets none of the treatment in actuality that he speaks of, yet still he's giving a warning to the Labour Party not to do something, even though he has proof of the opposite happening. And yet still, he is yet to make any statement about the road rage incident in Mark, which was done with his own vehicle, one of his campaign vehicles, and one of his drivers, one of his supporters, somebody that puts up flags and other merchandise for him. And that's the double standard. That's the anal double standard that shits on us every day and tells us we should like it. I heard somebody say this morning on GVD TV, telling Champagne and Peter Josie and Sir Michael, tell the young people, vote for the ice cream, put your X by the ice cream. Not even the flubbo anymore, the ice cream. And it brought me back to the same analogy. Shasney can put shit on a cone, but it's the people around him that will lick it, smell it, taste it, knowing full well that it's shit, and go, in order to fool the rest of us. There is no two-way confrontation happening. The culture of the Labour Party and the Philip Pierre cannot be blamed for violence. Philip Pierre cannot be blamed for violence, not only because of the lack of evidence, but because even if there is, and there perhaps will be, because you have on both sides, you have people from all walks of life, good people, bad people, people who have different neuroses and psychoses, but it's the culture that you preach. And Philip J. Pierre has never been aggressive in any way in and out of public life. But Guy Joseph, the total opposite, and does not even speak to an actual incident, and then exonerates by his own testimony what he is warning the Labour Party against. But since we're on Guy, let's go.
It is the responsibility of the Prime Minister to reprimand or to take the necessary measures.
Let's talk about Pajoa letters. Based on all the letters I've seen, Pajoa letters written by, to whom, from whom, what is wrong? What is it? What is the corruption? What is it wrong in the letter that is written, so that the public of St. Lucia can say, oh my God, that's wrong, that's illegal, that's corrupt. What is it in the letter that is written? Those Pajoa letters, I see how many letters all over the place.
It is very clear that only the minister responsible for finance can give such guarantees. So as to whether the letter is authentic and that the minister chose to give that kind of guarantee, it can be considered as being irresponsible.
So we asked the former Prime Minister what should be done with a minister who is, like he said, irresponsible.
Every minister who steps out of line and contravenes the ministerial code as to how do you operate as a government minister and as a member of cabinet, then it is the responsibility of the Prime Minister to reprimand or to take the necessary measures to address the situation, because no Prime Minister ought to be operating a cabinet in which ministers can do anything outside of their own purview and outside of the framework of the law.
Mr. Joseph, was the letter signed by you, Mr. Joseph? Mr. Joseph, you're not going to give us an interview?
Now, I could spend all day on the gross irony of Stephenson King talking about disciplining ministers that act outside of their ministerial purview. But I'd rather focus on the current Prime Minister and his attitude towards the implications of a minister taking on hundreds of millions of dollars worth of debt on behalf of the St. Lucian people, not being a Minister of Finance, not being the Prime Minister, and also not being the Parliament, which would have to be the ones to authorize that. $167.4 million. Guy Joseph is trying to guarantee on the St. Lucian people will pay on behalf of Pajoa for a street lighting project of $62 million that was actually going to be done for $30 million under the former administration. But no, let's hear Shasney again.
So, proof of payment, then you enter into contractual agreement with the company. The government is also committed to repaying the loan of the 62 million once the projects are successfully completed. So if there's no project...
So the guy gets the money and completes the project.
Then you are committed to pay.
That letter was sent to the bank to replace all the lights, 21,500 of these high energy lights. So wait and see, just wait and see who will get the contract to replace the lights in the country. The contract will be given to a friend, to family. Amount of stated capital, $1,000. $1,000. But they are given a letter. They are given a letter to raise $167 million. Bertram Johannes, the brother of David Johannes, Mark Johannes, who's the registered director of Pajo Limited, is Guy's right-hand man. If I lie, say I lie. 167 million given to company. Company, Davis Max Johannes, Kenan Johannes. Davis Max is brother to Bertram Johannes. Bertram Johannes is Guy's right-hand man who gives all the CDP contracts in Castries South and Castries Southeast. Connect the dots.
I cannot verify where this letter came from. It bears my signature, as I see, of a picture of something on the internet. There's so much happening.
When I spoke to the minister, he's indicated that there's no letter that he has in his office with his signature that pertains to that.
Mr. Speaker, I am going to say again, I signed Pajoa letter. I am going to say again, I signed Pajoa letter. I signed Pajoa letter, but I didn't sign for a vehicle that was belonging to the state. I signed Pajoa letter.
I'm a bit complexed because that's where we were going, and the source of the amount that we're paying for the project, which is a 5-year moratorium, 15 years to repay, plus a 3.5% or 1.5% plus LIBOR. That's very difficult terms for anybody to be able to compete with.
What about the other issue that if this is not was not signed by the minister? I'm not saying that's what you're saying, but just in case it was not signed by the minister, aren't you concerned that this could be a serious breach of national security? This is somebody has fraudulently signed the minister's name on a document.
Won't be the first. Be the first.
Wouldn't be the first. So for Chasney, well, we all know that Guy owns Chasney. Guy is the prime minister's prime minister. But imagine, this is what we know of. Imagine they cannot make up their minds whether they want to deny the letter being signed, whether they don't want to deny it and there's nothing wrong with it, but at the same time, they've had enough time to come up with their formulaics, and still the evidence just seems to be right there.
Besa so let's so some guy just say put minister yeah.
See, as I see who extension said this year put aside.
But this is one hour here.
Right. Listen further. The government of Russia is also committed to repaying the loan of $62 million. Now, so multiply that. Say about 170 million EC dollars.
EC, right.
Wow, c'est un Shaila.
Hein? Et mes street light là, t'es 30, comment t'es dit? 30 million.
30 million.
Good.
So c'est un bon différence.
Un bon différence. All right. Now, now, the government is committed to repaying US. So, mon la qui est là, the government can payer ça.
Right.
You understand? You can the government can pay. Et you the rate of interest to 3.59 interest rate over 15-year period once the project is successfully completed. I mean, but see somebody or pay say by Mickey Mouse. First, listen to that. Listen to what they said. They said the minister didn't write the letter. Then they say he write it.
Then they say his signature.
Then signature. Then they came and say, oh, these projects are funded already, so it doesn't matter. Yeah. Then they come back and say, another letter come and say, listen to me, look, the bank said we can consider lending you the money. So that is that's a maze. You see, what the government doing is they're creating a maze of confusion. So you tell them about Martinique, they tell you about England, instead of coming back to Martinique. So you're talking about Pajora, they're talking about somebody, what they think is somebody's personal life. You understand? No. So it's just creating a lot of confusion because they don't want to stick to the facts. This morning, we're talking about a loan that was given to St. Lucia that would save the country $11 million per year and would help us in our carbon emission, help in our in the environment. And you're talking about something which you send a letter to somebody and you have no idea who the person is, and you're asking for money when you had it already. These are the issues. Right. That's what we talk about this morning. And that is famous with the government. They believe they can fool people by diverting. So you throw a lot of things up in the air without dealing the facts. You have to think of how these things affect you. Not how it affects me, how it affects you. So the facts are that the government got a loan from the CDB. These are the facts to change the lights in St. Lucia. That would have saved the government millions of dollars, and they would pay back the loan in 6 years. The government took a whole year, and in 2018 they say they are currently engaged in discussions with Pajor on the same street lighting that they had got a loan approved for already. And that would mean that they agreed. So they gave a contract. The letter says they gave a contract to Pajor. Now the question is, qui minister qui sa buy un contract pour $180 million?
Like it's something I direct to you.
No, let parce que nous te commencer, yo te dit, oh ça pas vrai, ça est fort, je vais partir puis comment mentir baba. Actuellement, yo dit oui, c'est ministère qui est là.
On change l'air de commencer. Yo te dit, ça va vrai.
Nous avons un clip qui a joué tout à l'heure, tout ça en l'air. Nous avons un clip côté où c'est gardé tout, mais depuis jours c'est gardé.
Non, actuellement, yo dit oui, c'est le ministère qui est là. Et le ministère has agreed. Man, c'est listen. Qui gouvernement ministre ça agree pour avoir un contract pour $180 million to a company? Qui gouvernement ça y est? Et actuellement, au cas de lettre, c'est to whom it may concern, n'importe monde ça paye l'argent parce que ou j'ai agree pour avoir un contract là.
Mon monsieur Pierre, il met dans les spots là. Right? Si ça fait un bas.
Ça va jamais faire.
Qui décision
minister can fire. Minister can fire.
One time.
Immediately.
So la bani pièce depuis let ça se fait c'est
n'importe ministre gouvernement qui fait un bail comme ça et men la fire.
Et il pas ministre finance.
Et il pas ministre même si moi c'est ministre finance et men pour ça c'est un bail que has agreed. That means that ouja d'accord ministre qui agree ou ça
pour si c'est un pays
the ministre qui a parlé pour le gouvernement Saint-Lucia ou pas premier ministre ou j'agree pour avoir mon $180 million et mon cas dit ça pas rien ça se passe ça.
So I want us to think about this, and to die-hard UWP supporters who don't ever register the danger because the corruption has become so normalized to them. I want us to think about this. Let's just change a name. Let's say Estefan literally committed the people of St. Lucia to pay $167.4 million to whoever on behalf of the government. He would commit the government's resources, which means the state's resources. What if each of the UWP ministers, if Fede commits 160, this one commits 200, that one commits 200, we don't even know about it because it's not coming through the parliament, it's not going through the Ministry of Finance. Do you know that it will still have to be honored even if we arrest, even if we jail, even if we do whatever to the minister, right? And yet we are making out like this is no big deal. But remember, Guy Joseph has had at least 5 years to go through this whole issue. It's still active. We still don't know what the final results are of this particular matter. And he has had the best consultants in the world, the best that money can buy, at his side. And the only thing he can do is to further implicate himself because, and I want the UWP Acts to check this out, if you want to give complete credence to all of the accusations that he makes in his response, all of those still refer to a prime minister and a minister of finance.
Champagne, I've heard a lot of discussion about some letter again, they say, that's circulating about that Pajoa letter.
Yes.
Let me tell you something.
Yes.
I've never heard more foolishness in my life. That is what the Labour Party has.
That's what they
a letter that says if you do projects, you will get paid. A letter that says if you are engaged and you meet the requirements. Do they understand what investment is and getting investors into St. Lucia? So, to say that there's a letter and that letter isn't... Now, I have said I cannot account for letters that circulate on social media. I can account for letters that are written and in the files of government. Because people can take any letter, they can doctor information, they can do things, they can say things. You know, you get these things. But I want to tell them, did that letter give a list for the seabed in St. Lucia? Did that letter give mining rights to Robert Ainsworth for all the 4,000 acres of land that he was being promised by the Labour Party government? Did this letter guarantee cost overruns for Rochemel? Did this letter pardon people under the NCA and give them jobs in Guyana? What? You see, when these people want to come in and talk about, you know, everything they accuse me of Champagne is what would have been, not what is. So they said if the airport was built, we would have made a bubble. Why they didn't let the airport be built to see if there was a bubble being made?
So let you steal hundreds of millions of dollars and then after the fact, then complain about it. And you know the worst part is, here's Champagne. And then you wonder why St. Lucia's corruption index is at the highest it has ever been in St. Lucia's history by the international observers. I mean, we're not even apologizing for it. We're not even trying to hide it. And again, like I said, I want all UWP diehard supporters to say, yeah, the Ainsworth letter, and yeah, Kenny this and Kenny that, and recognize that Kenny Anthony was the Minister of Finance and the Prime Minister. So at least that discussion can be had. But how can a sitting minister who's not the Minister of Finance, not the Prime Minister, and not the Parliament of St. Lucia, be guaranteeing loans on behalf of the St. Lucian people to repay $167.4 million? And listen to that. You notice he can't take responsibility for it, but he's defending it. He's answering back by trying to give misdirection. He sees nothing wrong with it, but at the same time won't admit to it because they know it's illegal. What has happened there is illegal and unprecedented to the point where there must be criminal investigations into it. Yes. So, you know, last week, the Beaufest man came and he said, you have a bombshell. You have a bombshell to Malbene Yosebel. So you expected Paul Bearer to come and say, you know, you're going to bait the people this week. So, you know, everybody's looking for what is Norbert going to say, you know. Norbert has baited the people last week with a bombshell. So you expected this master baiter to come with something new. Yes, and let's hear the spirited, detailed defense of why Labour Party people are just blowing smoke again, man. Malmedia.
You know what they try and come with? They try and resurrect, revive. Samoy dead for Joe letter. Oh yeah, Imo. And you could come, buddy, with all the nonsense you want on Thursday. Sa-ja-mo. Imo. There's nothing to it. You know what they try and come with? They try and resurrect, revive. Samoy dead for Joe letter. Oh yeah, Imo. And you could come, buddy, with all the nonsense you want on Thursday. Sa-ja-mo. Imo. There's nothing to it.
Moments later.
But like you say all the time, like I say here, one set of rules for the SLP, something else for everybody else.
More moments later.
But then, you know, it's the past, man. There's the past. Don't talk about the past. Like going back in the past again. They try and resurrect, revive. Samoy dead for Joe letter. Oh yeah, Imo. Going in the past again. You see, that's because when you go into the past, the SLP seems to have an allergic response or reaction to the past. They don't want to deal with it. Their eyes rolling as if they have carker glow.
Later.
What they say? What were you taught at school? Hindsight is 20/20 vision. So when you look back now, you have the luxury of seeing everything. You see patterns of behavior. So I'll show you a pattern of behavior. Lawyer in St. Lucia, a prominent SLP lawyer, an SLP avocat, ended up suing Ainsworth for over $300,000 in legal fees that were never paid. A man who wants to make an investment for $3+ billion in St. Lucia can't pay his lawyer's fees. Go figure that one out. Good night, you're on the air. Let's keep it real.
Yeah, Norbert.
Yes, sir.
Norbert, if I can stop your nonsense when they act like a clown that, and you never want to release that. Or you coming up wrong and try to fool people and all sorts of nonsense, man. Why you acting like a clown like that so much?
That's what you're saying about me?
Huh?
Get rid of it, man. Flush him. Flush him. Flush mate. At this time of the night. Upasa mem pale bien. Good night, you're on the air. Let's keep it real.
No, but you couldn't pay your rent. You're talking about the man couldn't pay.
But that's and what you couldn't pay. What you couldn't pay. Hello? What you couldn't pay. What does that mean to the topic of discussion tonight? Good night, you're on the air.
Yeah, what's up?
Well, the sky.
What you tell this fellow a while ago there?
I don't even remember. Because that's in the past already.
But some months ago you could not even pay your rent.
Yeah, but that's okay.
You couldn't pay that thing.
But that's all right. And what does that mean? Don't cut him off.
What does it mean?
Yeah.
But you could not pay your rent a few months ago.
Yeah, but what does that mean?
Are you telling somebody else they couldn't pay their lawyer?
Caller, hold on. Let me let you get it out of your system. What does that mean with the discussion tonight?
Okay, but you know what? If you live in a glass house, you should not be.
But what are you talking about? How does that change the discussion tonight? That's what I want to know.
No, but you are attacking somebody on something.
I'm not attacking anybody. I'm speaking the issues that are affecting St. Lucians. That is what you all must deal with. Good night. Good night. That is what you all must deal with. The issues that are being discussed.
So the phone lines are open at 5727588 and 4847588. You notice the contradiction? They don't want to go to the past. The Labour Party doesn't want to go to the past. But yet, he won't go and deal with the Pajoa letter because it's the past. And then you have the other issue of the fact that the Pajoa letter is not the past. We do not know what the status is of Pajoa now after reading the correspondence from February 20th, from February 2020, which states that they have already gotten approval. Pajoa has already gotten approval. So this project is going ahead with a company that only has $1,000 share capital, handling $167,400,000 worth of work. And we know nothing. Good afternoon, caller.
Hey, Chris.
Good afternoon, sir.
It's ironic that you played that, This morning, I just make my time to listen to these fellas, to hear them. Norbert actually said this morning, he came to the conclusion that the Labour Party did not sign DSH, I don't know if you heard him.
No, I didn't hear him. I tried
this morning he said the Labour Party did not sign DSH, and that's why he concludes that the reason they did not sign DSH is because of the Endwolf deal. But a few weeks ago, he came out with a bombshell that Philip J. Pierre and the Labour Party were the ones that started the...
But caller, you see what's happening to them? They were very well coordinated. They were very well coordinated 6 months ago. When Jukba says something in the morning, and then Russell will repeat it, or Charlie, and then Timothy Polio will raise it, and Rick Wayne will talk about it, then Norbert will come, then Minerva Sword, and all of them. They're well coordinated. From the time that even the thing, when Shasney say the panning thing, I think they should have brought some Buddha for me, and they came with empty pots and pans. And then they said, oh, the guy was trying to jump the fence and murder the prime minister, that type of a thing. They discombobulated. They don't know what to do with that story. And they're trying to go to Ainsworth letter, which the prime minister, Kenny Anthony, not only had every right to be able to write, but it's a letter of comfort that, unlike DSH, is not legally binding. And even in that letter, Kenny Anthony says, and they never show you that part of the letter, that's why he doesn't present the whole letter, that Kenny Anthony, even in a comfort letter, said there must be anything moving forward must have 80% St. Lucian labor and only 20% foreign labor, unlike Teowa King that can bring any amount of Chinese aid.
Chris, I heard all of that, I know all of that, but it's the convenience of want to you see, the man had a shell 3 weeks ago that the Labour Party was involved in DSH.
Yeah.
But it will be interesting to get that tip this morning, because he actually this morning saying that he have concluded that the reason the Labour Party did not sign the DSH and go ahead with DSH is because they wanted the Ensworth deal because it was a better deal. And 3 weeks ago, a bombshell.
But caller,
it will not fall for this fellas.
Caller, did you listen to Zafenu when they told Al Prince, they asked Al Prince if he said anything about Emma? And he said, no, you can check the video. And then people start messaging me. I send the video for Yadi and them, they played. The first thing he said was talking about Emma. And you know what it tells you? The only way that people can support a compulsive liar like Shasney is if they are also compulsive liars themselves.
But that is why I've said I have actually dubbed Alan Shasney as suffering from leiomyelitis, which is something that is contagious. The moment you're associated with him, you will end up falling right there.
Thank you, caller. We have a caller that's been holding on. Thank you very much. Oh, okay. As we await the next call, folks, that Pajoa thing there, the worst part about it is, the only way that will stop is if you change this government. That's the only way. And that's why Guy Joseph is fighting so hard that, to even my estimation, he's actually inflating the Joachim Henry campaign. Because at the end of the day, these guys know that what they've done this time, they've done it and it cannot be hidden. Good afternoon, caller.
Afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Christopher, what's happening in St. Lucia right now, when I really look at it, a lot of us has to pay for it because they warn us too much about this Shasney administration. You understand? We have to pay for it too. We have to be part of it because we have to get blamed. You understand? Because some people are too hard-headed. You cannot tell me you are going to vote for Alan Shasney, Guy Joseph that was running a minibus association. They had an association with a gas station. The boy embezzled all the monies. And he has about 30 road buns on the Grozile High Road. Okay? And all over St. Lucia. And he's a minister. You understand? What are you leaving for the little layman to do? Can I get a loan at the bank to buy a bus? When I get into power this time around, all this minibus route ban has to be revised to see how many persons out there with how many 10, 20 route bans for themselves. We need to do that, and to get a poor man with a route ban to get a living for themselves. They have to do that. There's too much corruption going in this kind of thing, and then nobody sees it, nobody does nothing about it, and it just stays like that. We need to put everything straight. Everything has to go by the books. Everything. And we to see St. Lucia in a better face in this world right now, because we are keeping ourselves back too long. We are keeping ourselves back and not doing what we are supposed to do. We need to do it right now, once and for all, for the world to see we are different. And we're doing things differently. Shasney is just a gogo. They just a yo-yo, playing with him like a big yo-yo. The man don't know what is happening. If St. Lucia running or if it's walking. He don't know nothing. When you ask him a question, he just there looking at you like a big monkey. You understand? I don't know why Lucian do the country that. Why they do the country that? I'm just upset. And I don't want to say anything anymore because I'm tired. And tell that man Shasney to call the expiry date election for me, please. You heard me?
I heard you, loud and clear, loud and clear.
Do it for us, please, once and for all, to save the face of St. Lucia, okay? Thank you very much.
Thank you, caller. Thank you very much. Call the expiry date election. I like that. I like that. We have a caller that's been on hold for a while. Thank you very much for holding on.
Hi, good afternoon, Chris.
Good afternoon.
Chris, I'd like to educate me a little bit. I've heard about the Pajoa letter. When it came out, okay, it was dismissed. Now we heard another thing. You tell me, Lucian, was that money approved?
Caller, the letter from the bank says that it's willing to finance, and the letter from Pajoa is saying that the first tranche or whatever, the preliminary monies have been approved. So right now, what they're saying is that the government, these letters are acknowledging that the government has approved. Now, Shasney, the Ministry of Finance, and all of the technocrats are supposed to come out and say how the hell is that happening, or confirm that that has happened. Now, if it is confirmed to have happened, that now means that Guy Joseph acting illegally is still getting this thing approved, even though he has acted outside of his purview by the law. Now,
So
if
you're
it is
saying
not
to me,
approved, yeah, if it is not approved, then the letters are fraudulent. Then how come up to now there has not been a press conference which insists on bringing in Max Johannes of Pajoa that lives in Redway Park, right, and has Pajoa painted on his wall? His son is in school, so we'll leave the son out for now. Why is it that we've not seen any investigation? Why is the Prime Minister not having a press conference on this? And what about the answer bank? Why can't we get the answer bank to give some answers to questions? We have ability for media and so on to get in touch with Trinidad and find out who's been talking.
So, Chris, you're actually telling us, St. Lucians and the world, that we have a government and we live in a country that is solely being run by two men, right? Corruption, full of corruption, and full of, I don't even know what to say, because I heard the other lady, and it's really an expiry date election that we're running on. Now, I'm hearing on the other side that you all know win. Well, if you are for sure you're going to win the election, well, give the people their right to decide if you come back into power.
Agreed.
This is I really cannot understand. I am living in St. Lucia, and I'm actually living in a bubble. I scratch my head sometimes and I wonder, what part of St. Lucia am I? Am I an alien in my own state? Because we honestly, hearing all of these things, nobody, like you said, are coming up and say, well, this is the situation. But this is the position. The Prime Minister himself cannot come and defend what is going on out there. That means St. Lucians need to decide what I don't understand. I'm not a violent person, but I'm saying if he needs to listen to the people that put him there.
Well,
explain to St. Lucians, we need to demand an answer, because at the end of the day, if this money is out there and it is and we all know why, when it will circulate for what and for what reason, who is responsible for that to repay this?
But caller, I'm telling you, it happened in Antigua with multiple ministers. You had Carlton Augustine call about that, and I myself had to go and confirm that up to this day, Antigua is blacklisted by Canada because multiple ministers were taking loans on behalf of the state, and then even though they were doing that and they were found to be fraudulent, the people still had to pay for that. Now, this government runs on confusion. And when you say Shasney has to account to the people that put him there, the truth is he's accounting to the number one person that put him there, because it's Guy Joseph that orchestrated and installed him as leader for exactly this type of, shall we say, coverage, so that he would cover. And the two of them are Siamese bobolis for Shasney.
But you're not hearing from anybody else, what happened to the other 11 ministers? What happened to them?
They line in their pockets and trying to buy votes with whatever other money they can get off of whichever planes and boats are coming in to bring it, because like I said,
this is our country, this is our land, this is our land,
Elections
people are running out
July 14th.
Making mockery of it. SNS run out of pants and this one out of pants. When somebody's running out of something and they go in and look for it, it's because they need to, they need to explode. This, it's not very good for our little country. It's really, really not good. The people are ready to exhale. Come on, man.
We need closure on this, one way or the
other. Oh,
other.
my God. Chris, I know. Thanks for educating us, because as far as, that was a question. Has this money been released? Because when I listened to what Mr. Pierce said, I understood what he said. You understand? You all are dragging this thing. This, I'm saying, now it's coming up and somebody's ready to give you money to do something that could have cost us so much less money and less interest and from bank loans and stuff like that. I don't think, I honestly believe that when that man said we have 43% or 45%, he really believed that is what we have in St.
Maybe he made us believe it as well.
The pan players not going to be playing, on election day. They will go out. Because they're ready to pan him out of here.
Thank you, caller. Thank you. We have a call that's been on hold. Good afternoon, caller. Okay.
Hello.
Yes, caller. Good afternoon.
Hi, Christopher.
Yes, good afternoon. Go ahead.
Good afternoon. Listen, I need you to educate us. I want to know, if Alan Shasney does not take a stand, who else can take a stand to remove Guy Joseph there? The fact that there's evidence there, who else can?
Caller, to be honest with you, the Prime Minister is the only person that can really do anything about it. But since Guy Joseph owns the Prime Minister and they have been taking for themselves together, which is something that a lot of people don't realize, using the same lawyers, getting the same cuts out of deals, being silent partners in all of these different things. They are one and the same. Guy Joseph is Alan Shastney and Alan Shastney is Guy Joseph. That is the source of their power. They are Siamese Bobolis. That's the problem.
But Christopher, if you're working somewhere, right, you have a manager, right? The manager could fire you. But if maybe the manager cannot fire you, isn't there somebody higher than the manager that can fire you?
There's only one set of people that are higher. That is the St. Lucian people. And the problem is that for tribal reasons, you have people who, no matter what Guy Joseph does, even the elite class that love Shastney and hate Guy Joseph, you know what they tell you? Alan needs Guy to win the election because he rallies the people. You know Alan can't talk already. They only care about winning, even if it means that what they win is not even bad governance, epically, historically, horrible, corrupt governance. As long as their party win, that's all they care about. That's what it is.
Christopher, that's sickening. It was only yesterday. This MP from Canada, she hired her cousin in her constituency office, right? They deemed it conflict of interest, right? They let the person go, and she now has to pay the $9,000 back.
Now, caller, imagine, and I will do it before the elections, I can give you at least 3 major issues, including conflicts of interest. Everything from conflict of interest, blatant theft, direct awards. I can give you kidnappings, not even just one. Assaults. I can talk about resources being taken to pay for side chicks, homes and roads and everything on each and every minister, each and every one. I can go from Mary Isaac and the land that they were trying to give her, right, all the way to Sarah Flood and the business which is still operating inside of the passport office, which is her private business, and she's the Minister of External Affairs. Not even by gender does it discriminate. The same Bradley Felix, all of these people, all of them are involved, and each of them has a scandal that in the real world would cause and call for resignations. But it's a cabal who has normalized corruption, and all they do, they just
but I feel...
Yeah, go ahead, caller.
Like we're only talking, and then we keep talking about it, and then nothing's being done, and then it gets swept under the rug, and something else happens, and nothing is being done. Like, when will somebody be held accountable for this type of garbage that's happening in St. Lucia?
I wish I had an answer. I am as frustrated as all.
I mean, I live in Canada, and then this guy, apparently they give them a sum of money for them to run their campaign, and then he just went $1,000 over, right? And then when they revisited, they fired him, then they got him back, then they fired him. But in St. Lucia, it just keeps happening and nothing. And then Guy Joseph come with all these different bombshells, if you want to call it, just to deflect from the situation. Like, I can't take it anymore. Like, when will it stop?
When we stop it.
When will it stop?
I am desperate to stop it. I will not lie. I agree with you 1,000%.
But Christopher, do we have to wait every 5 years? So if I go up and I do something, right? We have to wait 5 years to get rid of me?
So you know what, caller? And that is the point. They have figured out the loopholes and they have gamed the system. So that's why I keep telling people an election will not save us. We need to put fear back into the political directorate on all sides so that they act with alacrity to make the necessary changes to level the playing field. If people are not prosecuted, if people are not made to account, then no matter what another administration does, they should be voted out until, and we should do things. For example, why do we have to apply for the right to protest? It should be that the police should tell us why we can't protest in a specific place at a specific time, but we should have the right to protest without going to the same people that have a vested interest in suppressing our civil rights, determining whether we can protest. And these are the fundamental changes that need to happen.
Right.
Yes?
It's our fundamental right to protest. And this is something that gets me so angry. The thing about, oh, you have to seek permission. No, I'm dissatisfied with something in the country. I do not have to go to the police to ask them my right to protest. I should have a right to protest. I should have a right to use my Casabella pen and pen wherever the hell I want. Christopher, I'm mad, okay?
I agree with, all I can say is I agree with you, and I hope you send me your video panning them, because I'm going to add every time all of them. Listen, thank you. Thank you very much. Have a blessed day.
Thank you so much, Christopher. You too. Okay, bye-bye.
Okay, folks, I think we've run out of time today. But, you know, like I said, when I started the show, The Revolution, people wanted to take the revolution and make it about violence. You know, they want to paint the Labour Party about violence. Christopher Hunt doing this, that, and the other. Timothy Polio has a show every day that tells you, I want you to get mad. I want you to stick your head out the window and shout out, I'm not going to take it anymore. But they blame me, people like me. The double standard, that's my point. My point in all of this to you is, right now, we need to focus on mobilizing and getting people registered and going out to vote. But even if we get a fair election, and even if we get the just results, our work will only begin. We need to open up our minds and remember the lessons that people have forced upon us so that we make sure that it never happens again. In the meantime, I'll leave you with a classic for those of you old enough to remember the song. And the message in terms of the visual is very simple. Get ready to vote.
Your vote will decide our destiny. Your vote will decide what you want to be. Your vote can foretell our country's fate. Move and use it well before it's too late. If it is that who you're voting, well, beyond a doubt. When you're voting, vote them out. Vote them out. If it is they prove it to be only full amount. When you're voting, vote them out. Vote them out. If it is the time is now that change should come about. Just as how you vote them in, vote them out. Register and vote them out. If they don't see, vote them out. Stain your finger and vote them out. Show them no mercy, vote them out. Vote them out with total scorn and utter disdain. Let's put our country together again. Vote them out of power, dominate their reign. Let's put our country together again. When you're voting, vote them out. Vote them out. If it is the passing laws that them alone can flout. When you're voting, vote them out. Vote them out. If it is the building eyesores, east, west, north and south, the same way you vote them in, vote them out. Register and vote them out. Totally vote them out. State your finger and rescue the country. Vote them out with tempo. They have we in cannot cope, and you're seeing so, then your only hope is for them to go. If it is fabrication, these statements that they spout, when you're voting, vote them out, vote them out. If it is that frustration does make you want to shout, when you're voting, vote them out, vote them out.
The opinions expressed on this TV program by the hosts, co-hosts, guests, and call-in listeners or chatters are solely the opinions and responsibility of the original source who expressed them. They do not necessarily represent the opinions of UTV or its affiliates.